I'm calling on Governor Tim Walz to resign as governor. Who am I? I'm a taxpayer. And if you're a taxpayer here in Minnesota, I hope you will join me in asking Governor Tim Walz to resign.
The worst of the state government fraud cases have been uncovered, or do you have reason to believe there is more to come?
Oh, I think there's more. And look, we've got organized crime ring in Minnesota. I think it's been going on for years.
From feeding our future to autism programs to housing stabilization, Minnesota taxpayers are victims of more than $1 billion of fraud. Do you think there was not enough skepticism for too long in state agencies that were overseeing these programs?
I think it's an unfortunate situation, but yeah, I think you need to be more skeptical now in this world. I think the COVID pandemic and the releasing of some of the rules, the relaxing of the rules, fostered this.
On feeding our future, some of it in retrospect seems so obvious. Thousands of children supposedly being fed at these sites that were, it just physically wasn't even possible. Was that a big miss by members of your administration who were supposed to be overseeing that?
I think in retrospect now, if you have the resources, and I think we do have more of those now, yes, it makes sense to just go out there and see if someone's doing this. Go out there and knock on the door, see if they're doing it.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey. Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. When you try to kill our citizens, we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Walk that bastard tampon China fella out in handcuffs. I keep telling you, they should have been had him. We seen it when the political assassinations and all the other stuff was taking place. They should have been walked your butt out. He should have been investigated a long time ago. You know, come up there and y'all speaking to the people. You know, talking about getting the mail vote back. Talking about working on that old truck. You're gonna change your air filter. I got something for you. Them Patriots can change their own transmission. They can replace their own transmission if needed to in their own driveway. Tampon Timmy. You lied, stolen valor, bastard lying. I'm sick of it. They ought to walk his butt out. He's been a fraud, lying. They say, Rick, sir, please calm down your blood pressure, sir. Rick, sir, and if you got to watch your language, sir, they're going to take the video down, sir. Please, sir. They have called on Tim Walz to resign. People are hotter than fish grease. Taxpayers are hotter than fish grease. Americans with common sense are hotter than fish grease. And I'm here to report on it and have a good time with y'all. Happy Thanksgiving. Y'all make Rick a plate now. And if not, come on over here to Texas. I got a plate for you. Everybody eat over here, baby. Everybody eat. I don't give it what you believe in. If you're conservative, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, I don't give it what your skin color is. I don't care how much you weigh. If you're big, medium, extra little medium, or if you're extra large, or if you're 3X, 4X, I don't care. We all got to live our life. We all getting old. We all go through changes. Simple. I want to tell you that I love you. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to keep spreading that love, and we're going to keep calling for what it is. We're not going to sugarcoat it. We're not going to hold our tongue. But y'all see what's trending right now worldwide. And now Tim Walz has been trending the last couple of hours, and I got to get into all this. So let's go and jump in, family. If you're new here, join the family. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. We rock out every single day, 7 days a week. No days off, 24/7.
Hello, friends. Hey, I'm here at the state capitol in Minnesota, and unfortunately, our state is in the national news once again for all the wrong reasons. That's because our governor, Tim Walz, has mismanaged it, abused it, and defrauded it over the course of his tenure. And now another shoe is dropped. I'm Kendall Qualls, candidate for governor, and I'm running to earn the endorsement to represent the Republican Party in November of next year. You know, we just learned that millions and millions of tax dollars has made its way to a terrorist organization in Somalia. And that's in addition to the billions of dollars of fraud, the declining economy, and the failing schools in our state. It's time for a change. We don't want to be the generation that lost Minnesota. We want to be the generation that saved it. And I'm counting on you to join me.
President Trump about Somalis living in Minnesota.
Tonight, the president posted on Truth Social, quote, "I am, as president of the United States, hereby terminating, effective immediately, the temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota. Somali gangs are terrorizing the people of that great state, and billions of dollars are missing. Send them back to where they came from," end quote. Now, we're working to learn the legality of the president's plan and the potential impact.
We know Minnesota has the largest Somali population in the United States, with the last estimate by Minnesota Compass at more than 79,000 people. Callum Gray is working on this in the newsroom, and Callum, reaction is coming in fast tonight.
That's right. Just in the last hour, Governor Walz responding, saying, quote, "It is not surprising the president has chosen to broadly target an entire community. This is what he does to change the subject," end quote. Congressmember Ilhan Omar also pushing back, posted on X, quote, "I am a citizen and so are majority of Somalis in America. Good luck celebrating a policy change that really doesn't have much impact on the Somalis you love to hate. We are here to stay." According to National Immigration Forum, as of October, there were 705 people from Somalia in the U.S. with TPS, and we're working to get the total count here in Minnesota. Temporary protected status is meant for those whose home countries are experiencing civil unrest, violence, or natural disasters. Somali immigrants have been eligible since 1991. The Department of Homeland Security says this was most recently extended through March of next year. Homeland Security has the discretion to designate a country for TPS for periods of 6 to 18 months and can extend it if the country continues to meet the conditions for designation. I just spoke with Julia Decker with the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota. She explained typically TPS terminations have to be posted on the Federal Register before the date the country's designation is set to expire. I just checked Homeland Security's website in the last few minutes, and Somalia is still listed. Decker also explained this is not done state by state, so the federal government will have to end TPS for all Somali immigrants, not just those here in Minnesota. The Minnesota chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations tonight says this will tear families apart, calling it a political attack based on hateful rhetoric and urging the president to reverse the decision. But Republicans are praising the announcement. Republican State House Speaker Lisa Damuth, who is running for governor, shared the president's post saying, quote, "President Trump is right. Fraud is out of control and unacceptable." Going on to say anyone involved in these criminal activities should be swiftly deported if they are not lawfully present in the U.S. Republican House Majority Whip Tom Emmer tonight thanked the president. Kevin?
Okay, that's Callum Gray. Now, Minnesota's Republican delegation in Congress, including Tom Emmer, shared a letter with us that they just sent to U.S. Attorney for Minnesota Daniel Rosen. And in this letter, they're asking for an investigation into Governor Walz's, quote, inaction and improper handling of fraud.
They're also asking for Rosen to look into reports Minnesota taxpayer dollars are ending up in the hands of the Al-Shabaab terrorist network in Somalia. A source in the U.S. Attorney's Office tells us they don't have an exact dollar amount. However, says, quote, Al-Shabaab controls much of Somalia and imposes a tax on all financial activity in the areas it controls. So a decent amount of feeding our future and other fraud money almost certainly ended up in the hands.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett, back in Tennessee. Hey, I've been reading a lot and watching the news on these Somalis in Minnesota and around the area that are ripping the system off, faking autism. You know, I've got one of my dearest friends has autism, and he just gets it every day, doesn't get any help, goes to school, does his thing, has a job, takes care of his Nana, and he's just a wonderful human being. To think that somebody is using that situation to rip off the system, to me, is unbelievable. We need to get a hold of these people that are doing this. We need to, within the law, of course, but we need to seize their assets. We need to mark them, know, not physically mark them, but know who they are so that they will never, ever be able to get back in our country again and deport their ass as fast as possible. Then we've got to, oddly enough, my buddy's texting me right now, my buddy with autism. Oddly, and then what we need to do then is to root out who in our government allowed this to happen. That's the problem we have with the conservative movement. We get a hold of the person at the tip of the spear, and then we don't go down to the base. And that's where the problem is, the real problem, because they've allowed this to happen. They've been paid off, or they're so deep in whatever department it is that they are, there's some gunfire, that they are able to just move around to another area, and that needs to stop. Needs to stop. We need to stop it now. That's why a lot of people didn't like Elon Musk. He rooted this stuff out and pointed it out to us, and I'm afraid you're going to find out, you dig deep enough in some of these scams, that folks from both parties are getting fat off of it. And dadgummit, it needs to stop. Thank y'all for sending me here.
I'm calling on Governor Tim Walz to resign as governor. Who am I? I'm a taxpayer. And if you're a taxpayer here in Minnesota, I hope you will join me in asking Governor Tim Walz to resign. Why? Because he has absolutely failed this state on almost every single level. We had a report come out from the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce that between 2019 and 2024, which is the last year data was available, Minnesota is failing on every single economic measure. Now, you may argue, well, that's something that needs to be taken care of at the ballot box, and I would agree with you, but let's add more to this. He's also failed his own party. He told the Democrat Party and those that want to see gun reform take place here in Minnesota, which I disagree with, needless to say, in the wake of the Catholic school shooting, he said he was going to hold a special session and take a vote on banning assault weapons, scary-looking guns, according to Democrats, and high-capacity magazines. And he failed to do so. He's failed his own party. But let's get to the real reason why Governor Tim Walz needs to resign, and he needs to do it today. It's the fraud. We already have the documented fraud. $2 to $6 billion has gone under Governor Tim Walz's watch, under programs created by his party while he was in office. And now we have multiple sourced allegations that taxpayer dollars went through autism centers fraudulently and then were sent overseas to fund terrorist organizations. Here in Minnesota, we had a multi-billion-dollar surplus a few years ago. We got back a tiny fraction of that as taxpayers. That money was more than what the state should have taken away from us, and they didn't give it back to the taxpayer. That money goes to these different social service programs that have now been discovered to be fraudulent. And that money, we now know, according to the reporting by the City Journal, was sent overseas to fund one of the worst terrorist organizations, Al-Shabaab. I talked with a counterterrorism expert friend of mine today who says that it's shocking, but not surprising. Enough is enough. I hope you'll join me. I hope you'll join me in telling Governor Tim Walz that he needs to resign. If you have a platform, an account on this platform, I hope you'll post a video. If you have other social media, I hope you will also put out there your request that Governor Tim Walz resign from his post for failing the people of Minnesota. There's enough evidence now. Enough is enough. A true leader would have stepped down a long time ago. He shouldn't be running for a third term, but I don't even want to discuss that because he shouldn't even be governor. I hope you'll join me in my calls for Governor Tim Walz to resign immediately.
I just can't believe that was on the ballot this past election. We were this close, man. This close. We told y'all about this Tim Walz for a long time ago. You can't make this up.
community hadda caruurteena inaan garab istaagno chiefkana waa u baahannahay annagana waa isku baahannahay
cashaan oo kamid ah odayaasha community-ga Soomaaliyeed iyo waalidiinta magaaladan degan ilmana ku koriyay.
The Somali community here in Minneapolis has been welcoming and has shown love towards me, and I appreciate it. Over the last 3 years, we have been working together to try and address some of the real serious problems that we have in our community. We have to be honest at times with the problems that we're having in our community, and we need our community to help us fix those problems together because it's real and it's serious. At the same time, if people have taken anything that I have said out of context in a way that's caused harm, I apologize and I'm sorry for that because that's not my intention at all.
A new, stunning report from the City Journal showing a massive fraud scheme in Minnesota. You have to hear about this. It involves false autism claims, the Somali community, and connections to a terror group. Let's explain over at The Wall. Now, it all revolves around autism and HSS program. That is Minnesota's Medicaid Housing Stabilization Services. Now, this was created to help seniors, addicts, and others find housing. But the criteria to enter this program was incredibly loose and therefore easy to take advantage of. It's led to fraud and costs absolutely exploding. Just 5 years ago, in 2020, costs for this program were $2.6 million. 4 years later, by 2024, cost had been over $100 million, 104. Through the first 6 months of this year, costs are at $61 million, meaning if you double that over the entirety of the year, you're looking at $122 million. In 5 years, from $2 million to $122 million. Now, why? 6 people are accused of defrauding HSS, and they're members of the Somali community. But this just gets worse if we take a look at Minnesota's federally funded autism program. Now, several people, and this is an example, a woman in the Somali community, are co-conspirators, and they're accused of recruiting kids for autism therapy. They brought in families, had them convinced to get their kids diagnosed as autistic. In fact, these families ultimately ended up having various social services bid for their children, competing with the number size of check that they would get. It didn't matter if the kids had autism. And what happened? Autism claims to Medicaid surged. In 2018, $3 million. By 2023, listen here, from $3 million to $400 million. Autism providers jumped from 41 to 328 in 5 years. Now, City Journal reports that the Somali fraud rings send a lot of money back to Somalia. 40% of households in Somalia get remittances from abroad. That totals $1.7 billion. That is more than the entire budget of the Somali government. Money being sent abroad, from abroad, back to Somalia. Where is that money going? Take a look at this. Most alarmingly, a lot of that money is funneled through money traders, and in the end, ends up in the hands of al-Qaeda-linked Islamic terror group Al-Shabaab. So to bring this full circle, the Minnesota taxpayers are funneling money through fraudulent autism claims back to Somalia, where that money lands in the accounts of Al.
To grow. On Thursday, the Department of Justice filed a 9-count indictment against Usman Kamara, the 45-year-old now charged with wire fraud, bribery, and money laundering. Federal prosecutors say that he owned a small grocery store in North Minneapolis and claimed to be feeding 1,000 kids a day, 7 days a week during the pandemic. Kamara, who allegedly claimed more than $1 million in reimbursements, sent about $100,000 overseas, and he is just the latest to be charged. Earlier this year, Amy Bach, the executive director and founder of Feeding Our Future, was convicted of orchestrating the entire fraud scheme. Following a 6-week trial, it only took jurors 5 hours to convict Bach and her co-defendant, Salim Saeed. They were guilty on all counts, including conspiracy, wire fraud, and bribery. Now, Saeed was one of many meal site operators who collected millions in federal assistance. He falsely claimed to be serving meals to as many as 60,000 kids each day. A little perspective, that is twice the number of students enrolled in the entire Minneapolis Public School District. Of the 77 people now charged in connection with Feeding Our Future, 56 have pled guilty to their role in the scheme, and 7 others have been convicted in 2 separate trials. Back to you.
Yeah, the story continues here. All right, Bill Keller, live for us. Thank you, Bill.